Hey everyone, this is Matt Richards from Band Director Survival Guide here. We're so glad you could join us today. We've got Zach Bridges coming in for an interview. Zach is our tuba teaching artist for the fall. He's going to be running our all-state advancement programs. And Zach is just a wealth of knowledge on the tuba and just an overall great human being. He is a member of the U.S. Army Band's Pershing's Own, and he's been the tubist there for about 4 years now. I think he joined in 2016, and he's also a professional orchestral musician, and he plays in the Maryland Symphony. And not only that, he's a native Texan. He went to Baylor and Rice. And before that, he was a Texas All-Stater as well. So he has a wealth of knowledge on auditioning and on playing the tuba and all sorts of things. So we hope you really enjoy this interview with Zach today. And don't forget, if you like this content, please give us a like, give us a share, follow us on our Instagram, Facebook, Band Director Survival Guide, and also check out our website, www.banddirectorsurvivalguide.com, where you can find out more information about these advancement programs, the ASAP All-State Advancement Program, the All-Region Advancement Program, and also the Fundamentals classes or the Musicianship Advancement Program. And we're just so grateful that we have these incredible teaching artists on our staff for the fall to really guide students through this information. It's such an amazing opportunity for students to have this caliber of a player available to them right in the comfort of their own home via Zoom. And we're so excited to share these teaching artists with you. We hope you enjoy. Here's Zach Bridges. All right. So we're here today with Zach Bridges, one of our tuba teaching artists, and we're so fortunate to have Zach on the team with us for this fall. And anyway, Zach, thanks for coming on to talk with us. We'd love to hear a little bit about you. Could you just introduce yourself and let everyone know what you've been up to?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. Thanks so much for having me. My name's Zach Bridges. I play tuba. Currently, I'm a Texas native, but I'm currently living in Washington, D.C. and playing with the United States Army Band Pershing Zone. And I also play at the Maryland Symphony here in town. So yeah, just been living up here for a few years, teaching online. Trying to stay busy.
That's amazing. Well, one thing that I think's so amazing about your situation is you've kind of bridged both worlds. You're a professional orchestral musician and you play in a professional band. So I was wondering if you could speak to that a little bit. I think that's so cool.
Sure, absolutely. I've been incredibly blessed to be where I am and still be employed by the Army, particularly. But like many people, I went to Baylor for my undergrad, and that was a very much like chamber music and wind ensemble heavy. Even did some marching band there at Baylor, and then I moved on and did my master's degree at Rice, which is almost exclusively orchestral training. So very fortunate to kind of have the benefit of training from both worlds and getting to put that together professionally as well. Moving up here, it's really interesting. A lot of people think that band and orchestra are very different worlds, particularly for wind players like brass and woodwinds. It's absolutely there are differences in the music we play and things like that. But in terms of just like general technique and approaching the instrument and things like that, it's really pretty much the same. I might play a little bit stylistically different in the band than I do in orchestra, of course, depending on the piece. But in general, you just try to play the best you can and match with everyone else that's going around you. So
Awesome. Really cool. So we were wondering about your experience with auditions or with Allstate.
sure, absolutely. So, like I said before, I'm a Texas native. Grew up in the Dallas area, and then I moved right before I started high school to a small town outside of Waco, Texas, called Axtell. And Axtell is a 1A high school, So that was a little bit different than growing up in Dallas. I would have fed into a 5A back when there were only 5As. And
Wow.
when I was in high school, I studied with the Baylor professor at the time. And even though I was at a 1A school, I competed in the Team EA 5A All State every year, and made it my last 2 years, my junior and senior year. And so I absolutely can relate and empathize with everyone going through that process.
Amazing. And I think, if I'm, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you and Katie Velasquez were both in Allstate at the same time.
That's right. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think we were in the 2009 5A Symphonic Band. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
That's amazing. Um, well, we just want to talk a little bit about teaching and tuba and stuff. So we were wondering, what do you think students need right now in learning? Like, what do you think they need when learning tuba, when learning music?
Well, sure. So, in my own experience, and also talking with a lot of my friends that are band directors and private lesson teachers, and particularly with the pandemic and everything going online, I've noticed a lot of there's lots of people that post things. Particularly in regards to like the all-state process, people will post entire all-state etudes and say, hey, this is how it should play, this is a reference, and that's super helpful. That's awesome. There's more resources than there ever have been. But at the same time, there's not a lot of, if I'm a student and whether I have access to a private lesson teacher or not, there's not a lot of, okay, here's where I'm starting with, this is what I have to work with, and these are like, I have all these great reference recordings, but how do I bridge that gap? How do I get from point A to point B? And I don't see a lot of that going on right now.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. I know, one thing we've started doing is actually recording these reference recordings at like different tempos. So at
Mhm.
different tempo thresholds, starting from like the very just ridiculously slow, going up in increments until you reach that final tempo as well.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I couldn't agree more. What do you think? What about teachers? What do you think teachers need right now to teach?
Sure. Well, first off, empathy. My wife's a school teacher, and speaking a little bit before this interview, she said a lot of people, whether it doesn't matter if they've been teaching for 20 years, a lot of people feel like first year teachers, with all the having to kind of start from square one, dealing with like all the online stuff. So first of all, empathy and patience. Second of all, just know that we're all on the same side. We're all trying to, especially as educators, we all want to help our students learn the most efficient way and most helpful and well-rounded way possible.
So what about tuba? Like what do you think is important to be able to teach online with tuba?
So I think that's kind of a two-part question, a little bit. Online, I'll deal with the online part first. I think there's a lot of advantages for online teaching. I've been teaching online for a couple of years now, particularly in regards to like including multimedia type stuff. So if let's say I'm working with a student on a solo, it's easier now than ever to just share my screen and my audio and say, here's a great reference recording, or here's like a practice app, or here's a PDF of the music, and let's, read it together, or even sight reading. Sight reading's been a lot of fun because I can just, share something on my screen and say, hey, why don't you read this down?
Yeah.
So in that regards, online teaching has been really cool to add more of the multimedia aspect. I think for tuba, both for myself and in my teaching, I'm finding that a lot of the most successful strategies are always trying to start or distill to a point of simplicity and ease. And what I mean by that is no matter how complex the music is, we need to start from a very simplistic, like, okay, here's how we make a sound. We use our air. We start from things and techniques that are easily attainable and that can be easily reproduced, and then just add variables on top of that. So yeah, simplicity and ease, And again, for online, it's great to be able to add that multimedia aspect.
Amazing. Yeah, it does seem with online you have to be really, really clear and really simple with how you present material because a lot gets lost in
Yes.
translation without that physical medium to use, physical touch or other aspects of teaching that we normally use that help you kind of put your point in place a lot faster. So that's great. And for tuba, what do you think are the most important things to teach in general? I guess you kind of covered that a little bit, but like what's like your strategy that you find helps students? What are like the general pitfalls students fall into when they're going for all state, when they're doing auditions? What are like the main things tuba students should be focusing on?
Sure. I think a big part of, and this is one of the things that I struggled with as a younger student, even in college, is having a grasp of kind of the overall picture. And by that I mean, no matter what you're playing, whether it's an etude or a solo or an excerpt, getting the general character and idea of the piece, and then basically developing a blueprint or a recipe, and thinking about, like, okay, what are all the technical skills that I need? Like, for example, one of the All-State etudes this year in Texas, you need to be able to know your B flat major and minor scales, F major and minor. You need to be able to play accents. There's all kinds of things like that. And if you can actually make a list, or if you have someone help you to guide you through the process of making that blueprint, making that recipe, then you can attack each one of those individual points in turn. And then when you go back and apply that to the piece, both in like small chunks and as a whole, you're going to be a lot more successful than just, all right, I'm going to turn on the metronome and just start hacking through this thing.
Yeah, that's true. What about recording on tuba? Do you have any recommendations? Because I know it's such a low, loud instrument. Do you have any recommendations for ways students can present their material the most clearly online?
Sure, sure. So there's actually quite a lot of reading material and things like that online in terms of mic placement for tuba. Typically, tubas, need a little bit more space for the sound to develop. So mic placement's a big deal. Now, if you don't have that, if you're just using your phone or things like that, testing the settings and listening back is incredibly important. And I'm being a little bit intentionally vague just because so many people have completely different setups. Whenever I do teaching, I usually speak through my built-in webcam mic, which I'm speaking to you on now, and then I have a separate USB mic that I use for playing. And of course, checking all your, let's say we're using Zoom, checking all those audio settings and things like that. So it does take a little bit of research and some trial and error. You want to have like a good friend or someone that you can either set up a live chat and see what it sounds like, or when you record it yourself, you want to make sure that it sounds representative. So it's always very important when you record something to listen back. But yeah, it does take a little bit of research, but there are fortunately a lot of resources out there on, a lot of times you can just type in, okay, this is the equipment I have. What's the best setup for, this type of room or type of instrument I've got?
Awesome. Awesome. Well, do you have anything else you wanted to add for today? Anything else you want to let people know about? Anything you're doing?
I would just say for now, there's a lot going on, a lot of changing. Seems like day to day schedules change. Policies change, things like that. Just relax, take it a day at a time. Life in general, much like music, is it's very much like a slow kind of long term growth process. And just enjoy the process, have fun, try to learn, try to get better at something every day. Whether it's your instrument or other hobbies or schoolwork. Yeah, just trust in the process, take it a day at a time, and yeah.
That's amazing advice. So, well, thanks so much. Thanks so much for joining us for this interview today. We really appreciate having you on, and Zach here is going to be leading many of the All-State Advancement Program courses this fall. He's one of the most technically sound, great players I've heard. We've done many recorded mock auditions for each other in the past, and his sound is impeccable. He knows exactly how to make things sound great, and he's a great instructor. So I just want to thank you so much for coming on and talking with me today.
Well, thanks for having me, Matt. It's been a pleasure.
Of course. All right. Bye.
See ya.
All right. I hope you guys enjoyed that interview with Zach Bridges, one of our amazing tuba teaching artists for the fall. So if you have any questions about anything we talked about today or any additional questions, feel free to write them in the comments and either us or Zach will get back to you. As well, you can email me at info@banddirectorsurvivalguide.com if you have any questions about Zach or about the advancement programs we're running this fall. Definitely drop us a comment, drop us a question. We'd love to hear from you. If you're just tuning in, give us a like or a share, follow us. Instagram and Facebook at Band Director Survival Guide, and YouTube. We're also Band Director Survival Guide, and our website is banddirectorsurvivalguide.com. So thanks again for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed hearing a little bit about Zach and learning a little bit about his teaching style, and also just seeing how great of a guy he is and hearing about how great of a tuba player he is. So thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you for the next one.